Hey, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Rage, and we are back today to fully conclude now and wrap up the final stages here of Escape from Kyln. This is the third rendition, and in this last three cells, we are allowed the option here of utilizing Annihilators and Orchis. Now, for myself, thankfully, the three-piece of Annihilators, they're already used in the end game quite a bit, especially with Arena, Dark Dimension. So, Gladiator, Thanos Endgame, and Gore did the majority of the work for me. Now, I did find that I did need to bring in Lady Deathstrike for the final node. It was just very difficult without her. It makes sense, guys. I mean, she's already needed for the tech section of Orchis nodes. So if you're going through the raids specifically, this is probably one of the good times to invest in her. I brought up to Gear Tier 18 before this, but I need that extra additional damage and push, as you'll see in the gameplay. So without further ado, let's get started right into now the final three stages here for the Escape from Kyln Orchis Assault. Yeah, so a lot of value already for this Annihilators team if you built them up. I mean, there's been so many events with the Weekend Warriors, them being top in Arena, so it's awesome that we can use them once again to wrap things up here. So this first note here, we're up against this mixture of the Illuminati in addition to Eternals. So what I did personally for myself, I went through, you do want to use Gore's ultimate right from the get-go. That way it does remove some charges there, but there's a couple enemies you want to be targeting. I put the stun and the exposure on Black Bolt to reduce some damage, and at the same time he created a target now for us to generate ability energy thanks to Thanos' passive. So that's that's kind of in hindsight the overall strategy. You want to slow down some of the damage dealers. Hank Pym and Shuri Black Panther, they can do some good damage here if they're synergized correctly, but thankfully, we're only up against 4 of these characters at the very beginning here. So whenever you're able to, make sure you're targeting and attacking Black Bolt just because you're getting that ability energy. And, Hank Pym, he could have been a good one to target, but to be honest, we reduced an attacker from us, so that way we're just reducing damage overall. It's going to be a little bit more of a slow play until you get more Thanos Endgame's abilities ready to go here. And you go ahead, you can actually activate another stun. And yeah, now we're creating some targets there. And again, just slow playing. Remember, there is an Icarus that does spawn next wave. So that synergy of Icarus and Cersei is something you do definitely want to be watching out for. But once again, we're doing damage. We're chipping away with the exposures, the vulnerables. So you don't really need to rush this node. I wouldn't recommend it just because if that burst comes out, it can be very dangerous. But thankfully, because our characters are Gear Tier 19, we're never really truly at risk in this node. It's more so just making sure that the damage dealers like Black Bolt don't compound too much. So looking pretty good. You can see how squishy Cersei is, and that's why we didn't really want to target her for the very beginning, just because she's going to be one of the easier targets to finish off. But seeing as how there's bleed and so forth, you can see that's where Hank Pym's passive comes in. He has that additional support, right? So that's why this node is going to be a little bit slower, but that's okay because once again, we're able to just consistently use our Annihilator characters' abilities, and they're also able to generate ability energy. So we finally land the stun on Cersei. 6 out of 8 enemies remaining. That does spawn the last and final wave here with another Black Bolt. The combination here of Icarus and then as well as Miss Marvel Hard Light. And we're in a great position right now with all our abilities, right? So Gladiator doing work, constantly using the taunt and protection with the immunity safeguard. So looking real, you can see it doesn't really matter if Icarus uses his ultimate. It didn't do much to us just because we didn't have those buffs, and even with the safeguard, he wouldn't be able to flip us anyways. So that was a big ultimate from Thanos Endgame, and yeah, now at this point you're kind of just cleaning up, right? 5 out of 8 enemies, but remember, we're being mindful of cooldowns because we are going into the next attack a node here with the same ability energy, so you do want to be mindful of what you use here. But when Icarus drops, you do want to try and focus him as much as possible. You can see that synergy with him and obviously Cersei. You can't really do much behind the taunt, so you're gonna have to just cut through it. We are able to land once again into their exposure, so she creates another avenue for us to generate more ability energy. But again, the Gladiator is so tanky. He's basically just soloing and tanking everything in this attempt. Boom, Gore takes down Miss Marvel Hard Light, and at this point, it's just cleaning up, right? Black Panther Shuri is almost taken down as well. Cersei's getting quite weak, so really just taking your time here. And if you want, you can distribute some more stuns. For myself personally, that's what I did because I know I'm going to get the ability energy back anyways. So once you end up with 1 or 2 characters, you can proceed with just using basic attacks as well. So this is looking good. This is kind of where you want to end up, with both Black Panther Shuri and Cersei being quite weak on that left side. And boom, we are able to just focus now on Cersei, and she's almost taken care of. And then yeah, like I said before, use the basic abilities. This is a pretty boring node attempt, but it's important to have the right setup, because you want these characters to be starting on the right foot, especially with the next node. Boom, just like that. Icarus should be the last character you take down, and yeah, like I said, everyone's got full cooldowns, and we're ready to go here for the next cell. So that's the wrap here for cell 50. Okay, next cell here. You want to start things off with Gore having the special on one of the rogues, because you'll see here, it's going to be pretty quick, but one of the rogues are probably going to get the specials off, and there's not much you can do. This might be one where Ultimus would be very, very useful, just because he can obviously combo his proficiency with the number of buffs on one of the rogues. So we can't really do much. We're just going ahead here. We're just going to target one of the rogues. You'll see they'll probably get their stun off, and then at this point, Thanos Endgame can activate his passive, and then we are in a much better position now that he's stripped away everything. So you obviously start things off with Gladiator having a little bit of a heal there, and then yeah, we can get business rolling now. So I'd recommend at least taking down one of the rogues and one of the archangels first, just because, and it's frustrating how they're kind of separated down the middle, but thankfully this initial wave isn't that hard once you get through at least one of these pairings, right? You can see they're not that tanky whatsoever. You know, landing one of the Thanos Endgame stuns on one of the rogues, and then once again we're doing the same thing that we did in the last cell, which is targeting the exposure, so that way we're getting energy back, but any kind of adjacent attacks is also going to be taking down one of the respective archangels that's not left of them as well. Now, I wouldn't recommend using Thanos Endgame's ultimate just yet. You want to get these characters lower HP, generate a little bit more ability energy. There's no rush to do that just yet, just because of the fact that we have time on our side and we can kind of control the match a little bit here. And bringing them all down to a similar HP means that we can wipe them all in one shot as well. There you go. Just fast forward to save you guys a bit of time here. We go ahead now with our first kill being Rogue, and that is actually going to spawn the next wave here. But we haven't used our ultimate there from Thanos Endgame just yet. But you can see we were able to add another exposure there on Archangel, so he's going to be another good target to generate ability energy. With these Wolverines, they could be problematic if you don't control them, so we definitely want to hit them hard and fast, but at the same time too, being mindful of the ability energy. So I decided to stun actually one of them to get another exposure target. 7 out of 10 enemies, so one of them's controlled, which is good. We unfortunately do have to deal with Dawkins actually in the shrouds there, so there's not much you can do there, but thankfully we have a taunt with Gladiator being able to soak up damage anyways, so not a big issue. He just provides some much needed protection, and he does actually now flip the shroud on Dawkins and spawns both the Black Knights that could be problematic if you're not able to clear their charges, right? So this is why it's nice having Gore on this match, because he can actually do that. And now this would be a great time to actually you could have used the Thanos Endgame ultimate there, but I decided to actually want to stun one of the Black Knights just in case. I didn't feel like we needed the damage. It just felt very smooth already. So once again, we can generate ability energy by attacking. And again, they just don't seem like they have the tankiness, but that's probably because they don't have the charges as well. So it just felt like a very watered down version of Black Knight, which was good for us, obviously. So not much you can do. Once the Panda Pool uses his taunt and all his buffs, you have to focus on him, and this would be a good time. This is why I saved the Thanos Endgame ultimate there. Boom, 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 just like that. Was able to strip away, and now that only leaves us 3 characters that we can clean up easily here. And same game plan as before. When you're down to a couple of enemies here, you do want to be more mindful of the cooldowns and you know, casting that exposure if you're able to, so that way we can generate ability energy. But if not, that's okay. I wasn't able to get it in as good of a position as I could for the setup, but that's okay, because I learned later on that Lady Deathstrike does work out to be a better team member for the last and final stage anyway, so not a big issue. One of your characters is a little bit more beaten, but yeah, make sure your Gladiator though is in a more healthier spot, just because he's going to be very important in the next match, because there's a lot of damage coming. So you do want to be saving his attacks, his cooldowns if you're able to. Same with Thanos Endgame, very, very important characters. So that's the second cell, guys. So that's cell 51. Now let's wrap things up here with the last and final stage. Okay, so Lady Deathstrike there with the swipe on the right side. I found that the Ghost Rider was pesky here. The Ares are problems, so targeting everybody on that right side helps out, because it also impacts Nova. Then we started with Gladiator Special just to give us a little bit of a support and sustain. But you can see this is where some of the RNG was involved, because you can see some of the attacks went to Thanos, which is great because we wanted his passive to kick off. And unfortunately, Gladiator was stunned, so like I said, there's going to be a little bit of RNG thing. Yeah, and then boom, just like that. The timing, I'm not sure what happened there, but Thanos was able to actually trigger his passive after my turn. So it could have been just a timing thing, but I would recommend using one of the stuns on one of the Ares, just because they are very, very annoying to deal with in this node. And then we have a double Iron Patriot that we also need to deal with as well. So just something to be mindful of there. Activate the ultimate with Gladiator, so that way he's soaking up damage now with the taunt. And now we're in a good spot. This is ideally where you want the RNG to be, especially even though Nova used the ultimate on his side, we still have the devastating bleeds coming from Lady Deathstrike, and that's kind of what we need here. Combo that up with Thanos Endgame's ultimate ability, and this is what's really going to do it for you in the match. Energy being granted now, but yeah, it's the Iron Patriots that are difficult to deal with. You can see we're just trying to generate as much as we can. The Robbie is able to clear, so it's unfortunate there. And then you're going to deal with a double Iron Patriot ability. So Thanos Endgame unfortunately got wiped out just like that. And that's kind of what I was saying before, how difficult the Ares are to deal with. But that's why we brought in Lady Deathstrike and her damage. She's just absolutely brutal with the damage, right? And now we have the combined efforts taunting from Gladiator. So Lady Deathstrike, Gladiator, it's really about these two characters and surviving to the very end, because you can see they absolutely synergize extremely well together. Perfect offense and defense. And you're going to be left with these Ares, and they're not an issue whatsoever when you have the synergies of these two characters. And again, thanks to Thanos Endgame kind of setting up the stage with this big passive special, and as well as the devastating ultimate that he was able to use. Boom, boom, boom. Ideally, one of the Ares should be the last characters to deal with. And then it's just a waiting game at this point. So, there you guys have it. First time completely wrapping up all the Escape from Kyln in the event. Because last time I wasn't able to bring up my Spire Society and Cabal, but thankfully we had a lot of the value characters already built up. These investments are big. And that's why we always preach, guys, you know, the newest characters are the best characters. Boom, boom, boom. 52 cells all completed. So hopefully this is helpful. I'll link everything below, actually, and try to put it in a playlist for you guys if you're trying to follow along. Hopefully this is meaningful and helpful for you guys to progress further in the event as well. Thank you for your time as always, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.